Hare Krishna, nice to see you. This is the side. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 14, The Forest of Enjoyment, text number 10. Yes? Yesterday was 9. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The conditioned soul sometimes personally appreciates the futility of sense enjoyment in the material world. And he sometimes considers material enjoyment to be full of miseries. However, due to his strong bodily conception, his memory is destroyed. And again he runs after material enjoyment, just as an animal runs after a mirage in the desert. Purport. The main disease in material life is the bodily conception. Being baffled again and again in material activity, the conditioned soul temporarily thinks of the futility of material enjoyment, but he again tries the very same thing. By the association of devotees, a person may become convinced of the material futility, but he cannot give up his engagement, although he is very eager to return home back to Godhead. Under these circumstances, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in everyone's heart, compassionately takes away all material possessions of such a devotee. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 88, Text 8, Yasyaham anugranhami harishye tad dhanam shanai. Lord Krishna says that he takes everything away from the devotee whom he especially favors when that devotee is overly attached to material possessions. When everything is taken away, the devotee feels helpless and frustrated in society, friendship and love. He feels that his family does not care for him any longer, and he therefore completely surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. This is a special favor granted by the Lord to a devotee who cannot fully surrender to the Lord bodily conception. As explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, Chapter 22, Text 39, Ami Vigna e murkhe vishaya kene diva. The Lord understands the devotee who hesitates to engage in the Lord's service, not knowing whether he should again try to revive his material life. After repeated attempts and failures, he fully surrenders to the lotus feet of the Lord. The Lord then gives him directions, and attaining happiness, he forgets all material engagement. Om Agyana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpa Turabhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So a traveler in the forest of material enjoyment sometimes comes to the awakening that sense gratification is futile. But he cannot sustain that realization. Because of strong bodily conception of life, he thinks, I just need to change a few things here and there, and maybe then I can really enjoy in this material world. Because there is happiness out there, it's just a matter of finding it. And Prabhupada says that for such a person who is genuine, who has this genuine epiphany that there is no happiness in this material world, yet is unable to, on his own strength, extricate himself from this material situation, then the Lord intervenes. And his intervention brings the devotee out of this material entrapment. And the way the Lord intervenes is, since the devotee is not giving up the attachment, he just takes the attachment away. He takes the objects to which he is attached away. So then he is not left with anything but attempt after attempt, failure at material enjoyment. And so he gives up. Oh, okay, fine. I give up Krishna. And Krishna is very happy. That's the essence of this verse and purport. Why does a person who is convinced of pursuing material happiness ever come to the point of thinking that it is futile? Because the material nature is created such, by design, it is meant to not satisfy. It doesn't matter what one is doing. It doesn't matter how convincing the promise is by anyone that buy this product and you will be 100% satisfied, guaranteed. And if you're not satisfied, we'll take money back, no questions asked. Can we say that every product that we have bought is fully satisfying? Cannot say. And even if it is satisfying at that moment, you give it some time and it stops satisfying. It stops satisfying because the nature of material energy is such that it is changing. And if the object doesn't change, the nature of the mind is such that it changes. I changed my mind. People live in this world constantly changing their minds. And that is why there is such a wide array of choices. It is for a person who keeps changing their mind. And it's not one or two, everybody is like that. By design, the mind is created in such a way that it has two functions. It accepts something and then it rejects that thing. Accepts and it rejects. This is called changing of the mind. And it's not like I want to change my mind or something. It just happens. The mind is conditioned by the material energy in such a way that it's not that I'm really looking to change my mind. It just changes. And it happens in every sphere of life. Someone tries something and after some time, I don't want this. I want something else. That's why, my favorite one is, I love you, till death do us part. And few weeks later, they're fighting in court for who keeps the money, I get the money, you keep the children. And nowadays, even when they fall in love, just in case they sign prenuptial agreements. Oh, just in case, I love you very much, but just in case I don't love you anymore, let's decide who keeps the car and who keeps the kids. Because the mind changes at any moment. Fashion, food, music, idols, role models, whatever it is. Temples, gurus, thank you. Whatever. Keeps changing. I don't like that anymore. This guru I don't like, he chastises too much. That guru I like. He smiles every time. What is this? Or whatever. The mind changes, constantly changing and changing. That is the nature of the mind. Rupa Goswami, in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or the Nectar of Devotion, he deals with this phenomenon. And he says that happiness in the material world has a phenomena. It's called Chapala Sukha. Chapala Sukha means fleeting happiness. It's there, now it's there, now it's gone. Now it's there, now it's gone. Now it's there, now it's gone. This is called material happiness. It's fleeting. And by the way material energy is created or constructed, It has the law of what's called diminishing marginal returns. This is a law that we learn in economics, right in the beginning. That for every unit of input, you get a smaller output progressively. This is called the law of diminishing marginal returns. So chewing gum. The first time we chew a chewing gum, it's a burst of flavor and all that. You keep chewing it. 20 minutes later, there's no flavor. And 25 minutes later, absolutely no flavor, just a severe jaw pain. And then you have to spit it out. This is the law of diminishing marginal returns. That the more you chew, the less taste you get out of it. That's just the nature of it. So you have to spit it out and get a new stick. And then you say, I don't like banana flavor, I want cherry flavor, whatever. Ice burst, I don't even know what all flavors they come out nowadays. But then you have to try that, and then after that, I don't like this anymore, I like that more. Or pizza, or whatever it is. The first pie or slice is really good, the second is third is okay, fourth. You can't eat beyond a limit. And the more you do, the less pleasurable it gets. You can't say that the 100th pizza slice will be as tasty as the first. You can't. You can't even get to that 100. This is the law of diminishing marginal returns. The more you do, the less pleasurable it gets. The most pleasurable thing in this world, as in the previous purports, is sexual enjoyment. People think the more I get, the more I'm enjoying. This is not true. You ask the persons who are getting so much of it, and they will say, it's okay. But the urge is such that they, even if there is a sense of, there's not much in it, they can't extricate themselves from that situation. As we spoke a few weeks ago, there is something called smashana vairagya. People are most detached in the funeral home. When their friends or relatives or whoever has died, and they look at that body, and that body is about to be buried or incinerated, that's the time they think, oh, I should be more serious about life. After all, what is life anyway? It's here today, gone tomorrow. I should be more spiritual. They come home and they forget all about it. This is called smashana vairagya. Or sometimes, because the failure is so intense, that they've been trying to hold on to that happiness, yet it doesn't stay, then they think, what's the use of all of this? We've had those moments? Sure. This is those moments, although we may not be philosophical about it, but that aversion does appear. We have friends, and we've been investing in that friendship for a while, and something happens and the friend betrays us, or at least we perceive betrayal or something, and they say, what is the use of all these friendships? I don't need any more friendships. Or something, what is better not to have any relationships. This is the best thing. Because they're all disappointing. It is that sense of futility. And the same person cannot stay away from not wanting to be part of some other social group. They'll go find someone else. Or they get cheated in love or something, and they sing the blues. Oh, whatever, life is full of misery. I shall never again fall into this trap. And 10 minutes later, that's exactly what they're doing. So Prabhupada says that this situation is because of the bodily conception of life. The bodily conception means to think something other than, I am a pure spirit soul. I am a servant of Krishna. This is called true ego. And anything other than this is false ego. I am this body, I am happy, I am unhappy, I am lonely, I am very social, I'm intelligent, I'm not intelligent, I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm happy. This is all illusory. And this bodily conception perpetuates our daily emotions within this world. Therefore, I see some people as friends, some people as enemies, some as favorable, some as unfavorable, some circumstances as good, some circumstances as bad. Actually, there is nothing called good or bad. According to Prabhupada this morning, everything is bad. But we think, oh, this is good for me. For me, who's the me speaking? It's usually some sense of bodily identification. If there's a good-looking woman, oh, this is good for me because I'm thinking I'm a man. Or the weather is really nice, I think, this is good for me because I want to enjoy the weather. I like the sensation on my skin, pleasant, cool, comforting breeze. This is very nice. Or when there is pain, I don't like this pain. I have to get rid of this pain because this pain is unfavorable for me. It is inhibiting me from experiencing happiness. I don't like this suffering. I don't like this misery. I feel very elated when someone appreciates me. And I feel very upset when someone insults me. When we talk about this, we generally ask, what is the sweetest sound vibration in this material world? It is someone appreciating us. Is the sweetest sound. Right? And what is the most bitter or bittermost sound in this world? Feedback. Yeah. If someone tells us something, some insult is bitter. But even more bitter than that is someone else being appreciated. That is, at least when I'm getting feedback, I'm still the center of things, so that's okay. But someone else being appreciated, whoa, I don't like that. So I see that as insult or appreciation. So this is all bodily conception of life. The bodily conception of life exists on the gross platform as far as the 5 material elements are concerned. So I think of myself as male, Indian or Caucasian or African American or Asian or whatever, Hispanic, male, female, sports personality, education or a student, or a husband, or a father, or king, or a professional. These are all bodily conceptions on the gross platform, and etc. There's a long list. Then there is bodily conception on the subtle platform, at the level of the mind. The bodily conception of the level of the mind is everything related to emotions. I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm not angry, I'm pensive, I'm thoughtful, whatever. So wherever the thinking, feeling and willing manifest, they're all on the basis of some bodily conception. Then there's bodily conception on the level of intelligence. It's the values that we hold on to, some ideologies that we carry. There should be peace in the world. I believe in non-violence. I'm a non-violent person. I believe in equal rights for everyone. I believe in whatever. I believe in women's rights. I believe in the trees, or whatever, just different ideologies. That's also bodily conception of life. Because on the basis of that bodily conception, I see things favorable and unfavorable. All those persons who love the dolphins, I like. They don't like the dolphins, they have to deal with me. I like to save the tigers. I like to save the white rhino. I like whatever. These are all bodily conceptions. Not that they don't have any value, but the value system is on the level of intelligence. And that value system comes from bodily identification. Therefore, certain things make sense and certain things don't make sense at all. Like I grew up in India, and for us, at least in my family and I guess our society, eating meat was really, it gave us the goosebumps. Like, how can you eat meat? How can you just kill another animal? But it's not necessary that that's the value system that everyone else has to carry. Right? Like I said last time, I had a friend who said that he loves seafood. Seafood means whatever he sees, that is his food. So same value system doesn't apply. I came as a student here, and for us, one of the values that we really carried is when the teacher enters the classroom, we all stand up in respect. That's how you treat a teacher. And that's from our childhood, that's ingrained. Or an elderly person, someone senior in our family, they enter the room, it doesn't matter what you're doing, it doesn't matter where you're sitting, you have to stand up. It's a matter of respect. And if we didn't, we were chastised. Hey, don't be so arrogant, stand up. If a grandfather came, a grandmother came, even a father or mother came, you stand up. I came to school here, and the first week, for me, it was a cultural shock. People brought their lunch into classroom. It was like, wow, eating and studying at the same time? Wow, that was really something for me. And the professor was speaking, and one student had his foot right on the desk. And the professor didn't mind it. And for me, that value system was like, wow. And a few weeks later, I did the same thing. And okay, so I'm now part of this value system, and so it didn't matter to me. I did the same things. I brought food to class and put my foot on the desk. Called my teacher by the first name, Brian. What's up? Whatever. Or whatever the value system, This is from bodily identification. The real sense of self is, I am a spiritual entity. And unless that sense becomes our part of our ethos, that everything that we do, we try to think of as a spiritual entity, we will not become free of this bodily conception of life. And until then, it's the start and stop, start, stop, start, stop phenomena. And so it behooves us as aspiring spiritualists that we become aware of this identity, of our real identity, on the mental level. That means, I think, I'm a spiritual being. What would that mean? On an intellectual level, by study of scripture, by hearing from Guru and Sadhu every day. And on the bodily level as well. On the bodily level means being very conscious of minimizing the urges that would drive our behaviors. As soon as the first urge comes, whoosh, follow it. No. So on the level of the body and the mind and the intelligence, to learn how to withdraw and learn how to control those urges that push us into behaving like, into thinking like, and valuing life as this body. It is that reason that Krishna gives austerities of the body and mind and words to help us get away from the bodily conception of life. So why are we practicing Krishna consciousness every day, sitting in class, chanting Hare Krishna, singing kirtan, dressing the deities, eating only prasadam? These are ways given by our acharyas to help us get away from the bodily conception of life and situate ourselves in our true conception. I'm a servant of Krishna, so I do things as a servant of Krishna would do when we are interacting with each other. That's why Prabhupada asked us to refer to each other as Prabhu. The moment we say Prabhu, it means you're my master. How may I serve you? It is meant to evoke that consciousness. But if that's not there, then it's just another label, such and such Prabhu, and I don't like you, your servant. We usually teach that that's how we write letters. Dear Prabhu, please accept my most humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I think you're completely crazy. I don't know how you're behaving like that. I wanted to bring it to your attention that after all you're a servant of Krishna. Why can't you behave like a servant of Krishna? Your humble servant. We learn the language, we learn the dressing style, we learn the behavioral aspects, but the consciousness is still steeped in the bodily conception of life. And as long as the bodily conception of life is there, the taste in bhakti will not awaken. It'll be okay. It'll be like anything else. For some years, it's all nice and fun, and then there's the real challenge. I'm not getting any taste from it. Because when we treat bhakti as another material thing, it follows the same principles that material energy follows. After some time, diminishing marginal returns. There's no fun anymore. It's not joyful. When Krishna says, Susukham kartum, this is meant to be executed very joyfully. We wonder, where is the joy? What is wrong? So we are often told, the process, there's no problem. Application, there's the problem. And the application is not just that, hey, I'm still doing everything, I'm there for the programs. And it's not just the movement of the hands and legs. Is the consciousness becoming transformed? One of the ways to know whether our consciousness is being transformed is, we've been practicing Krishna consciousness for some time. Do we still carry the same conceptions that when we started off? If they're still there, something's not changed. If the same things that used to upset us are still upsetting us, the same things that used to enamor us are still enamoring us, if the same ideologies that we used to carry, still there, then something's not happened. When Srila Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj had joined Srila Prabhupada, before he had joined Srila Prabhupada, he was a civil movement activist, and he really fought very hard against the discrimination of African Americans. He was part of Martin Luther King's whole movement, and he was an activist in Princeton University. And when he joined the devotees, he felt, what is this? The teachings say you're not this body, and doesn't matter whether you're Caucasian or African American, your spirit soul, everyone belongs to Krishna. And he felt that still there was some racial discrimination within the Hare Krishna movement. That was his perception. So he went to Srila Prabhupada and he complained. What is this? You say, there's no bodily differences, although if body differences might be there, we're all spirit soul and there's no such distinction for the spirit soul. And Prabhupada, instead of saying, oh really, what's wrong, he put it back on him. And he said, the fact that you are feeling like a victim, oh, I am African American, so I'm the victim here, that means you yourself are steeped in the bodily conception of life. And if you want to see the change, then you be the change. You act outside of the bodily conception, so it shouldn't bother you anymore. And for him, that was a really awakening moment, apparently. That Prabhupada so nicely got him into thinking, when you think of yourself as a victim, you're in the same problem. So the bodily conception is of course, we shouldn't artificially think that, oh, I've overcome the bodily conception of life. In the beginning years, 1966, 67 through 69, when Srila Prabhupada had these young men coming to him, and they were all new. They were two brothers, Brahmananda Prabhu and his brother Gargamuni Prabhu. And they were all interested in esoteric Indian Far Eastern philosophies, and what they heard from Prabhupada was really far out. You're not this body, you're spirit soul. And that spirit soul is not obstructed by or killed by any material weapon. It's not moistened by water, not withered by air, not burnt by fire. I thought, wow, this is really amazing. So they were to conduct an experiment to know if they're really spirit soul. They would want to know if they could walk through a wall, and every day they would walk into a wall. Boom. Oh. That means I'm still in the bodily conception of life. Boom. Oh, bodily conception of life. That's not how you try. You don't try to see if you can walk through the wall. Even Srila Prabhupada, who is definitely beyond the bodily conception of life walked through the door, not through the wall or doorway. So it's not artificial that, oh, I am not this body. That's good. That's good. And in our daily activities, interactions with each other, interactions with the people of the world, our own chanting, this is where it actually begins. I'm going to come to that. When we see prasadam, when we see things, the deity, it's a practice on the level of the body, mind and intelligence that I am a spiritual entity. And what does it mean to me in this situation right now to be a spiritual entity and not this body or this mind? What does it mean? Even considering that gives us great insight into solving some situation. Like on the physical level, if there is some ailment, we're recommended, consider and take your attention to your true nature. As a spirit soul, it doesn't have bodily pain. There is no concept of suffering as a spirit soul. And the more we take our attention to our true nature, the physical ailment or the mental ailment or whatever it is begins to subside. Or at least it becomes tolerable when it is intolerable. As long as the bodily conception of life is there, suffering is there. Because that it comes with it, that's the package. Bodily conception, suffering. And as soon as there is no bodily suffering, identification, even a little bit, to that degree, suffering is mitigated. So it's described that the beginning of freedom from bodily conception of life happens when we chant our japa. That when we chant our japa, that we consider who is chanting. And with what conception of myself should I be chanting Hare Krishna? If I have a spiritual conception, then my calling out to Radha and Krishna will be naturally, please engage me in your service. I have drifted far away from real life. And if it's not, or if it is some bodily conception, then the chanting will have that included in it. Oh, it's very boring today. Something back is hurting today, or the weather's not okay today. I just don't feel like chanting today. Okay, even then chanting is much better. But the idea is we chant with the full proper conception. Ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam buddha. This is the real conception. Kripaya tavapada pankaja stitaduli sadrusham vachantaya. My dear Lord, I'm but a real part and parcel of you. But I've forgotten this. And unfortunately, I've fallen into this ocean of nations. Ocean of nations means bodily conception of life. Thinking I am this body, I am this mind, I am these emotions, I am whatever these values that I'm carrying. And lifetime after lifetime, I have just been tossed by the waves of material energy. I beg you to please pick me up and place me as an atom at your lotus feet. Right conceptions, when they are there, there is enthusiasm. When the conceptions are not right, the enthusiasm goes up and down, up and down, up and down. When the conception is right, even if the body is not cooperating, the mind is not cooperating, the intelligence anyway doesn't cooperate, still there is enthusiasm, because the conception may be right. And for such persons who are trying sincerely and genuinely, Krishna intervenes. He participates too. It's not like, oh, figure it out, see you in Vaikuntha. He participates, he helps. He helps by removing those obstacles which we have placed for ourselves by the bodily conception. So he removes those obstacles. Of course, we may cry, we may whine a little bit, but this is for our good. Yasyaham anugrinhami harishye tad dhanam shanai. Krishna says, on whomever I am bestowing my mercy, I take away their material possessions, specifically the wealth. Because wealth is a very easy thing to take shelter of. This is a special favor granted by the Lord to a devotee who cannot fully surrender to the Lord due to a strong bodily conception. So it's not like everyone who has a bodily conception, Krishna necessarily intervenes to help. It is for those who have a bodily conception but are genuinely trying. My dear Krishna, I'm trying, but this bodily conception is just too difficult to give up. I'm trying, please help me. Then Krishna sees that yes, this person needs my help. Mameva ye prapadyante mayametam tarantite. One who surrenders like that to me, they're easily overcoming of the material energy, the influence of the material energy. Otherwise it is very, very difficult to overcome. It's impossible. Krishna uses the word insurmountable. He says the Lord understands the devotee who hesitates to engage in the Lord's service, not knowing whether he should again try to revive his material life. What should I do? So there's a famous story of Sridhar Swami. Sridhar Swami was a householder, and he was not sure whether he should give up his family situation and just dedicate himself as a sannyasi. But he thought, if I take sannyas, who will take care of my wife and children? After all, I am the bread earner for this family. And if I were to not do this, that would not be right. What would become of them? And while he was considering like that, he saw that on the wall, 2 lizards were crawling, mother and child. And the child slipped and fell from the wall to the ground. And he immediately felt this pain in his chest because he identified himself with that same situation. And as soon as the little child, the baby lizard, fell to the ground, he wondered, who's going to take care of that baby? Poor baby. And he noticed that the little bug came somewhere near to that baby, and the baby opened its mouth, ate that insect. And he had this epiphany, this realization, Krishna is taking care of everyone. I'm only falsely thinking that I am the one who's maintaining my family. It's actually Krishna who's maintaining everyone. And so he took sannyas. Srila Prabhupada also felt, he would say, when I was as a householder, I would often wonder, how can I serve my spiritual master? And in my dreams, my guru would come and say, take sannyas, take sannyas. And I would wonder, how is it possible to give up this situation? And then he's reminisced that, oh, although Krishna took away all my wealth, he took away my family situation. In return, now that I'm serving him, he has given me so much wealth. He has given me so many sons and daughters. So it's Krishna that although takes away, he gives. He takes away the conceptions that hold us back, and he gives a ton of mercy by which we can serve him. So I'll end with a Prabhupada story. Brahmananda Prabhu and Garga Muni's mother, she had mixed feelings towards Prabhupada. The mixed feelings were, well, her sons were doing well, that was nice, but that both of them had dedicated themselves to Srila Prabhupada, and so she was a little uncomfortable that, what is this? You're roaming around like monks, shaved heads and shikha and tilak and dancing on the streets and distributing back to Godhead. So she wanted to meet Srila Prabhupada and express to him that she would like her sons back. So when Prabhupada came, when she came in Prabhupada's presence, Prabhupada spoke to her very, very sweetly. Oh, how nice that you have wonderful sons, they're really, really very good, etc. And so she mentioned, Swamiji, my two sons are with you. He said, yes, they're very good boys. And so the conversation went, and she was trying to delicately put it to Prabhupada that I would like the sons back. So as the conversation went forward, Prabhupada said, you should give some dakshina. You should offer something. Money, because you've come to a temple, you should offer some dakshina. So she blurted out, Swamiji, I've given my two sons. And Prabhupada said, thank you very much. And that was the end of the conversation. Now she couldn't ask back my two sons. So Prabhupada really very wonderfully tricked her into that conversation. Swamiji, I've given my two sons. She said, thank you very much. So when we give ourselves to the spiritual master and Krishna, then we go beyond the bodily conception of life. So we see everyone as family. Everyone is Krishna's family. This is the point of calling ourselves Achyuta Gotra. Gotra means family lineage. And each one of us is supposed to have a Gotra that talks about our seminal lineage. But in the seminal lineage, there is an identification with a particular family. But when we come to Krishna, we are called part of Achyuta Gotra. We're part of Krishna's family, and that is every living entity is part of Achyuta Gotra. That's the beginning of coming out of bodily conception. So, any questions, comments? Bhakta Glenn.
Your last comment, give yourself to Guru and Krishna, and Krishna will take everything else, or or take care of everything. And that's a beautiful statement. It reduces it to something very simple and clear. Could you talk a little bit about the process, or what it means to give myself to Krishna, to Guru and Krishna?
Giving ourselves to Krishna. Well, I didn't say it that way, but giving ourselves to Krishna means trying to serve Him to the best of our capacity, being conscious of our real identity as a spiritual part and parcel of Krishna. If that sense of identity is not clear, giving will not be clear, will not be full, it won't be complete. It will be in bits and pieces, because I'm thinking, I can give some time, but I have other things to do. Or I as a person have these needs that I have to take care of, etc. We start somewhere, so it's not like when we start we are fully surrendered. But the idea is, at least progressively, we have a better sense of identity. And without that sense of identity, as I said, consciously, it's difficult to give to Krishna. Ultimately giving ourselves to Krishna. That is called Atma Nivedana. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written a song. Manasa deha geha ke kichumora arpinituva pade nanda kishora. So this mind, this body, manasa, deha, this body, geha, this household, ye kichumora, whatever I think is mine, I'm offering it to you, Krishna. That is Atma Nivedana. Because when we have a sense of I, automatically with that is a sense of mine, and that everything belongs to Krishna, including I, myself. And that's how we progressively cultivate our Krishna consciousness. Bhakta John, do you have a question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I guess I was trying to understand a little bit about the body conception through the intelligence.
Bodily conception on the level of intelligence?
Yes. Yeah. It says in Sastra that to control the mind requires our intelligence. Now, that's, as a scene, that's what happens when we stay in the mode of goodness. So how do we not let the body conception affect, I guess, our intelligence? Because it's like kind of hard for me to understand that to control the mind means to use our intelligence, but there could be point of times where the body conception still comes out. But how do I know I'm aware of that, and how do I know if it's coming from from the intelligence side, not from like the gross body or the subtle body?
Well,
can you give an example as well as what?
Yeah, sure. You want an example of what is the bodily conception on the level of intelligence? I said values, certain values that we carry, value systems. So I have a value system. Let's say that I should always speak the truth. That's a value system. And we hold on to that value in such a way that even if our truthfulness is very hurtful unto others, we still hold on to it. That's a bodily conception. And the prime example for that is on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Dronacharya had to be eliminated. And Dronacharya had said that no one can kill me. Arjuna, all you Pandavas, individually or together, cannot hurt me. The only time I will give up my life is if I come to know that anything has happened to my son, Ashwatthama. That will weaken me up. Otherwise, I'm invincible. So Krishna told the Pandavas, we have to trick Dronacharya. We have to tell him that his son Ashwatthama is dead. And he picked Yudhishthir Maharaj to say it. And Yudhishthir Maharaj was known throughout the entire world as a person who will never speak a lie. And Krishna told him, you will say it to Dronacharya. You want to guess what Yudhishthir said? He said, no, I cannot. I cannot speak a lie, Krishna. I'm known all over the world as Dharmaraj, as a person who embodies truthfulness. How can I speak a lie? That's a bodily conception of the level of intelligence. And it is said for that reason his chariot touched the ground, which otherwise would never touch the ground. It would fly in the air. Of course, then he did what he was supposed to do, and they made some arrangement by which he will say it. But that's how it works. We carry certain values, and we don't know how to apply those values in context to service of Krishna. Okay? And so, how to do it? Well, Cheto Darpana Marjanama, by progressive cleansing of our... When we chant, who is chanting? With what conception am I chanting Hare Krishna? It is very important. That is what will pervade our mind and intelligence and body for the rest of the day and from there on. If you don't chant with the right conception, here's what will happen. With whatever conception we chant, that conception becomes strengthened. So if someone chants Hare Krishna thinking, I want some material desire, Hare Krishna, please give me, fulfill my material desire, Hare Krishna, then material desire gets fulfilled. It's a conception that gets strengthened because it's like watering the weeds, and those weeds grow. So when we chant with wrong conceptions or impure conceptions, those conceptions will grow. Alongside. So it's very important that we chant with the right conception. That's where it begins. Every day.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Srinath, you have a question? Why do you have to ask later? Now is Bhagavatam class time. Please ask.
Should I ask?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Bodily conception is so deep-rooted, like even in our dreams, we identify ourselves with our body. And no matter what, the purport says, Krishna take away things which binds us. No matter how much Krishna takes away, every moment he's take our youth, health, and finally the body itself. We don't give up the bodily conception. And the more Krishna take away things from us, the more we become complacent. We realize, and then we become complacent. Can you elaborate why this tendency of being complacent, take over that moment of realization that we have?
I was with you as far as Krishna keeps taking away, as he said in the purport. But I'm finding it difficult to think that when Krishna keeps taking things away, one becomes complacent. First of all, if Krishna is taking things away, it is not necessary that we are giving up our bodily conception of life. By taking things away, Krishna is making it easy for us to give up our bodily conception of life. But we may not. So then, naturally, one may fall into, what's the hurry? But the idea here, that story of Bhaktisiddhanta and that narrates about his disciple, not his disciple, but a guru and a disciple. who said, attachments are very difficult to give up because these attachments are holding on to me very tightly. So the Guru said to the disciple, come and meet me in the forest tomorrow at such and such time. And when the disciple was going to meet his Guru, he heard in the forest this loud cry, help me! Help me! And he said, I recognize that voice. That is my Guru's voice. He must be in some trouble. And so he followed that voice. And he saw that his Guru was up on a tree. His arms and legs wrapped around the trunk of the tree, high up there. And he said, help me! So he said, my dear Guruji, Guru Maharaj, how can I help you? What's the help you're looking for? He said, help me, this tree is not letting me go. So he said, this must be something really esoteric because I don't get it. He said, what do you mean the tree is not letting you go? I see your hands and legs wrapped around the trunk. And the Guru jumped down and said, same with your attachments. You're holding on. It's not that they're holding on to you, you're holding on. You're holding on because of the conception of the body. Somehow or the other, whether on the gross side or the subtle side, the conception is still there. So the idea is that Krishna is not just taking away and thinking, what is this fellow, how much ever I take away. But Krishna is taking away along with our participation. It's not like he's taking away for anybody and everybody. He says for someone who's trying very hard but still is unable to, then Krishna takes away. To help. That means that the devotee is genuinely trying. I want to overcome this bodily conception of life, but I'm finding it difficult, Krishna. Please help me. That's when he takes away. It's not like otherwise he's just taking away. Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.